Hi everyone, Mrs. Besega here. The first thing you need to do for this lab is go to self-service and download Vernier Graphical Analysis GW. So type in Vernier and select Graphical Analysis GW. Load it up with a new experiment. Select Wireless Device and select your two carts, green and yellow. Make sure the codes match up with the one on your device. Once those are added, then make sure your setup has both of your devices pointed to the right. This ensures that positive and negative are the correct direction. From here, click the squares in the top right and change it to one graph. We want velocity versus time graphs, so unselect position. Select velocity for both graphs, and then run your trial. When you do your collision, you should see both data sets showing up at the same time. In this case, the red line corresponds with the teal cart, and the yellow line corresponds with the yellow cart. Mark the velocities right before the collision and right after the collision. This can be done by tapping on the graph right before the collision occurs. You'll see the velocities pop up as little labels next to each graph. So tap right before the collision and record the velocities. Tap right after the collision and record the velocities. When you go to graph these, you only need to graph the y-axis precisely. So pick a good scale and label your two lines, preferably with some sort of colored pencil so you can tell them apart. In this case, the initial velocity of the green cart was 0.746 meters per second, and the initial velocity of the yellow cart was 0 meters per second. Scrolling over to after the collision, both the carts stick together after they collide, and they travel with the same speed of 0.3 meters per second. So during the collision, both the velocities change so that the final velocity is 0.3 meters per second. So I'd graph this as well. Now notice I'm recording those velocities of the initial and final in the chart below. I can use these to make a before and after diagram. This is helpful because I can use this to calculate the momentum of each part of the collision before and after. That's your main data collection for this lab, so let's do one more example. Let's say we do a collision now where the two carts bounce apart. Now I would tap my finger over the initial velocities and record those. Tap my finger over the final velocities and record those in order to make our graph. Notice I graphed the velocity versus time for each section based on what I've figured before and after. From here, I can make my before and after diagram, noticing that this includes the mass and velocity of each piece. This will let me easily calculate the momentum of each part of the collision for the teal cart, the yellow cart, both before and after. Best of luck!